Yes.
Okay. Where are we with the housing element calculations? You ready to go?
So if you look at, we've got the site size, we've got the consensus numbers, we have the existing densities, and then we have the densities in A and B at 100%. In the case of Hamptons, A goes up to 85 units to the acre, B goes up to 99. In the case of Valco, it stays at 35, no change. Oaks goes from 25 to either 30 or 35, depending on A or B. The Barry Swenson site basically stays at 25. I know we have 24, but it doesn't change, right? The Villages stays at 20, Glenbrook stays at 20, Homestead Lane stay at 20. So the changes you're going to see is in Marina, Oaks, and Hamptons.
Why is Valco the same in A and B in terms of the density? It should be at 0, right? For
Don't
B.
understand that either.
Right. Well, the units are 0, but the density is based on the entire area. So we're basically saying it's not applicable. You're right. Yeah. So we'll change to 0.
Oh, right.
And just put a dash. It's not applicable because there's no units
There's no
there.
density,
Yeah,
right,
we'll
okay.
just put a dash
Well,
there.
it shouldn't be 35 anyway. Yeah.
Likewise on Homestead Lanes in
That's it.
option A, Villages in option B. I guess.
No, it's 35 in A.
Yeah.
Villages is 0 throughout.
Pardon? Something else that we missed?
The consensus chart for villages shows 0 in A and nothing in B, so
You know
I
what?
don't know.
It's still 35 in
Oh, I see.
Valco.
Because that's default.
Right,
That's-
because that, anything above that is
Okay.
a conditional use, right? So that doesn't change. It's the units you're allocating is what's
Okay.
important, right?
So how does this comport with our requirements to HCD? Is this a,
This is just an understanding of the density, so we can now start talking about heights.
okay,
So the understanding was Hamptons, and we have agreement from the Hamptons on the Hampton site.
Okay.
Currently, the height limit is 60 feet.
okay,
They were willing to ask, they said they want 75,
okay,
but around the perimeter of the entire site, except for the 280 frontage, they were willing to have it be 60 feet, shortened to 60 feet for the first 50 feet of frontage around the entire site, except for the Valco Freeway. And we've written it up as that in the balance plan. So that would be fine, the heights. And that would work for either A or B.
But the numbers we've actually got here is lower than what they requested at 800 and some.
820, yes.
So wouldn't the heights be automatically lower for
Right.
600?
You would think that, but I would say they need a little bit of flexibility to figure out how to make that work, and that could be part of the design review. We feel like it's, even when we recommended the 344 to 400, we recommended giving them a little more height. So I can't say they can build up to 750 with just 60 feet in height. I think it's going to be difficult. It's a fairly high density.
Can you refresh
And
my
we're
memory?
talking about, 5 stories. with
Could you say
75
those height numbers again?
75 feet.
And the other one?
Maybe I should read from
Just
the
plug 'em
staff
in.
report.
And then on the upper perimeter, it was how many feet?
65.
Thank you. 60, 60.
It was 60 feet perimeter around Apple, the Prune Ridge Avenue, and Wolf Road, that entire perimeter, not including the perimeter on 280. It would be 60 for the first 50 feet into the site.
Thank you. Of 50.
Right. In the case of Valco, it's our understanding that they don't get any heights until the specific plan is decided, so that will be subject to a specific plan, no change. At the Oaks, at 35 units to the acre or 30, it's generally 45 feet. I think you can build about 30. As you get higher, you may need a little bit more. I'm not sure. Maybe Mr. Tersini can talk to it. We studied a range all the way up to 75, but we were not recommending going above 60.
And this would be merely for the housing element component.
Just the housing element component to build 35 units to the acre. And the understanding is that there would also be a retail component, since it's a mixed-use site. It would not be all housing.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to address that if anybody's interested.
So if you were to do a mixed-use site, so it would be like maybe 45, 60? 60 would be with retail, 45 would be without?
That's correct, and I'd like the 60 feet height. I think we can create some additional common open space with the allowing for the higher building heights.
Okay, and with that height, it would probably be with community benefits of senior housing, the 35 units that we were talking about from the person next to me.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
So my suggestion is 4560 to my colleagues with community benefits, i.e. senior housing.
So it'd be 45 and 60 if there's a senior housing
No,
component.
so, with community benefits.
60 with community benefits. Okay.
Yeah, with the retail component. So 45, so with the 60, it has to have a retail component with community benefits.
Well,
Okay.
Is my suggestion on that.
no, what I'm wondering is if we could go ahead and do the more conservative number now, and once we have that second meeting where we talk more holistically about the other elements of the general plan, which could include these other
The
things,
community benefit
then we could
piece.
revisit that height and maybe make it higher. But without a better understanding of community benefits, I'm thinking
I
maybe
agree.
we,
So you defer anything above 45 until later?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the things that, with the unit numbers that you have right now, can't you just run with that until we come with the next meeting and talk about the height?
For the housing element piece, we want to make sure that we're not making it impossible to build
Yeah.
the units.
Oh,
The HCD needs a sort of unconditional sites at this point, right?
Right.
With real heights, not something contingent on some follow-on meeting.
okay. So probably
that's
the
the
only
basic
The
problem.
only ones that we have to deal with probably is just Oaks Marina, and that's it. All the other ones are low density that probably will fit within the 45. I think that we have to give certainty for Oaks and Marina tonight.
So here are our recommendations then. Keeping Marina, Barry Swenson at 45 feet. That's no change. Villages and Glenbrooks can develop at 30 feet. They don't need additional height.
Okay, so the question is on Marina, if you give them
Yeah,
45
they
foot,
won't be able to do
they
it.
won't be able to do the 35 units.
I would bring.
Well, it's the same as the Oaks, right? So
Right.
it was my understanding you were going to defer increases in height.
But I just want to get, I mean, just to be fair to Marina, I think if the Oaks can just come up and say what was the height, and I just don't remember if it was 60, it was 60? Okay, so, so I think that it would be, I mean, just to make sure that they can build, it would be 45, I mean, it's similar to what we do at Oaks, 45 or 60 with retail and community benefits. And then that's it, we call it a day.
So we are yet to define community benefits, but we are saying,
No, we have to define community benefits next month.
no, but
For
sorry,
the
your question?
purpose of HCD and the housing element, not for necessarily reality of what gets built, okay?
Correct.
Or the project, the specific, the projects that would come in. What I would suggest is using the more conservative number for now in each case, because we don't have a good enough understanding yet of what constitutes retail and community benefits.
I agree. So the 60 feet, I mean, with retail and community benefits, we can talk about it next month, but at least put it down for talking points so that we can,
I'm happy to have talking points, but I'm also interested in what we can actually do as a motion tonight.
maybe staff can help us, is that, because we're at an impasse here, is that with the, because I mean, I know that at least for Hamptons, Oaks, and Marina, they need some certainty in order to move forward. Because there'll be those three in that same bucket, right, Rod?
Well, they need certainty. If we're going, I mean, all we're doing tonight is trying to satisfy HCD with a housing element. And I actually think it's fine. I don't actually expect that people are going to come in knowing that we've talked about meeting again in the next 1, 2, 3 months, whatever it is. I think probably within a quarter, right? We will have a community process. We will hear from more of our residents, and we'll have a much better idea of what sort of developments these could look like. Developers will be busy, I expect. So I'm actually hoping that nothing comes in.
Well, you
Between
won't have
now
an
and then.
adopted housing element until May.
Yes, and we won't have an adopted housing element. So I think using the more conservative number rather than putting in this hypothetical stuff is the right way to go in terms of what we need to do right now to move along with the state. And would I expect that these folks thinking that they'd like to go higher and there'd be good benefit for them in doing so would not wait? Sure. But, nothing's going to happen in 2 or 3 months anyway.
And I see.
Right?
And this is my
So
only.
that's all. It's
This is-
simply a matter of doing the minimum to satisfy the housing element.
And this is what my concern is. My concern is that if you were to approve this tonight, and let's say that Marina Oaks say, oh, forget the retail, I already got 200 units and
Yep.
45 feet. I'm not saying that you're
Yep.
going to do that, but it's like, I
Yep.
can flip the property, sell it, and somebody say, oh, I have 200 units at 45 feet.
I know, but we don't have council members that feel comfortable doing the whole thing tonight. That's kind of where we started.
You're not adopting the housing element until May. So
That's
none
awesome.
of the zoning applies until May.
Or later, right?
No,
We have-
May.
May, okay. All right. So we have until May to sort out.
Correct. We can always change this whole thing.
Except for Valco, which has 3 years.
Well, we can, but what we submit to the state has to be clean.
Right.
It has to be buildable.
Those sites have to be viable
Yes.
sites. And that's the
Right.
part that HCD is very, 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 very picky about.
Focused on.
So to speak to Gilbert's point, if someone sells their property, what does that mean?
Nothing, because it's not a housing element site until you've adopted a housing element.
So it doesn't make a difference?
All you have now is the housing element, a draft you're sending to HCD, right?
So with that, I would suggest instead of what's put in the new column for height, that we make Oaks and Marina 45.
I should correct what I mean by saying nothing. They have what they have today. Okay.
Okay.
Could we just, was that consensus there, or? I know
Well,
that's Rod
fine.
and I
So-
were just talking.
No,
outside.
so let's see. At the top of the column, we're putting our straw consensus. And this is proposed heights is for the purpose of tonight, and a motion we would make tonight.
Yeah,
And I guess I'd like to know if I have consensus on these heights, or you want to make up another number. This is what's needed to do,
Yeah,
satisfy the housing element.
If we approve, if we say, okay, Oak and Marina, you can have 200 unit, and then the existing density is only limited for 45 feet, and you say you're not going to modify that, then they cannot do anything.
They can build at 45 feet. Absolutely. That's why we did the calculation.
For that density?
It'd be challenging.
The units will be smaller, they won't have townhomes. But you are intending to look at the community benefits later, as I understand it. So
Right.
you have
And
some
then
time.
Also, the community is talking about they would like to have a little bit more open space. So the only way you can give it to more open space is you go higher.
That's right.
Right, so why set it up for 45? Why not make it, if we are making it for Hampton now, 60 to 75, why we are not changing it? Okay, the Marina, because we know they're going to build.
So are you okay with 60 on both of them?
Yeah,
At
I'm
least.
okay with 60, yes.
Without community benefit, you're okay with 60?
Would the community,
But we're not doing community benefits
we
tonight.
will talk a community benefit later, we don't need to do it, we don't need to specify. We just have the condition.
Correct.
I'm feeling that's kind of messy myself.
We just need,
What do we have from anybody else here?
So you can actually fit 200 or 235 units into 6.86 and 7.9 acres.
I'm looking at the density. You can have smaller units. You have the ability to amend it with the community benefit program later, and then figure out how much open space you want. But if you're asking me on a site, is it feasible to build 35 units to the acre at 45 feet, I would say the units would be smaller, but yes.
With a supermarket on it, as well as...
It gets tighter as you do that. I agree.
And okay, so here's
Right.
where I'm really coming from.
Right.
At 45 feet maximum here, if we're interested in setting a floor above which we have a DU, a development agreement,
A DA.
a DA, thank you, where we're negotiating, I think setting it at 45 now is a great idea. And because we're going to revisit this later anyway, and I would like to establish 45. Even though I don't expect, again, I do not expect, by the time we're said and done and the developers come in and see what's best for them, I would expect that this will look different. I do. It's not that. It's about not entering into the territory that goes into talking about community benefits and exactly what that is and so forth.
Why can't we do what we're doing with Velco? I mean, it says 40, right, 45 or 60 feet.
No, Valco is, there's the existing, who's driving the spreadsheet?
so another idea we can do is,
Can we fix column S? Entitle column S to say straw proposal or something, I don't know.
so
Okay.
another compromise is that we
Proposal.
can do 45 feet with development agreement, meaning that they can go higher if they either have a DA would be better than an SP.
Well, yeah, maybe, but we're not trying to define that tonight. That's exactly what we said
Well,
we didn't
development
want to do.
agreement will be defined when they bring in the application before the council.
No, I think we can define community benefits later when we're talking about the remaining amendment. Right now, we are doing just what is necessary to satisfy HCD, and they don't care about our community benefits from what I understand.
But I do want to protect the retail that's currently on Marina and on Oak Shopping Center.
But if
You're
you,
not protecting it by,
if you're talking about the same concept, then you don't need to do anything on Hampton then.
well, no, you do, because in order to get the number of units on Hampton, you do need that height. You can't do it at 45 feet.
But for the Oak and the Marina, if you want to get to the unit they want, we want to give it to them, they do need to go beyond 45 feet.
No, they don't.
They do. I disagree.
That's not, I disagree. That's
Okay, well,
same.
the point of the
That's for
calculation.
25 units.
Let's have staff.
You raise it from
reiterate.
25 unit to 30 to 35 unit. You think the same height would accommodate it? Come on, that's common sense.
Maybe a suggestion is that
The
Mr.
reason
Trevino-
that we just did the calculation in PQ was to find the right height number. Is that not correct? I mean,
Sorry, could you repeat that?
okay, so the question that we're asking is, again, for the Oaks Marina specifically, will 45 feet allow construction of the consensus 200 and, in the case of Oaks, 235 or not?
Again, at a smaller unit size, yes.
Can you give her an average of what small
And
size is?
let's compare this. If you're looking at the Hamptons, we're saying that they can accommodate 99 units to the acre with a 75-foot height and 65 feet around the perimeter. Granted, they don't have a retail component. So 35 at 45 feet is doable. Again, we understand that in order to make sure that you have flexibility, you have a community benefits program for the, and also you want to look at open space, you can modify those heights
Right.
per a community benefits program. Since you asked,
Right.
you have all kinds of options.
So that's why I don't understand why you cannot agree to have a 60 feet with community benefit on the Plan B.
Because we had the majority of the council ask that we defer consideration of a community benefits program, the specifics of a community benefits program, as well as anything else that wasn't essential to defining what we need to do to satisfy the state on housing element, with the one exception being Valco. So Valco plus housing element essentials tonight. That's what we're trying to do. That's why.
Darcy, on this one, were you kind of open just only for the housing element site to, on the height?
You mean Oaks and Marina?
Yes.
I'd like to know what the developer thinks at 45 feet, whether it's feasible to.
I agree. Mr. Trevini, do you mind coming out? You have the years' experience here. And can you explain to me the challenges of 45 versus 60?
Sure, Councilmember Wong, I appreciate that.
Councilmember Paul needs that. I know the answer. I know.
Okay, Councilmember Paul. We are wanting to maintain as much retail as we can. The retail, we'd love to have a 15-foot plate height and then the 10-foot plate height for the residential going up. We have looked at some preliminary designs for the site, and in order for us to accomplish that, 60-foot height for the residential is the most ideal. Yes, you could, and I'm not going to disagree with staff that 45 feet, but you're going to be spreading those buildings out, and you will not have as much common open space. We are looking at below-grade parking. We're trying to create an atmosphere of walkability and synergy between the retail space, and we'd love to have the opportunity, especially along the Highway 85, exposure and Stevens Creek exposure. We don't think we're going to be impacting the neighborhood.
So you will commit to underground parking?
Well, as I say, we're evaluating underground parking for the site.
Could you explain for the council and the public, at 45 feet, what's the average size of the home versus if it was 60 feet in comparison with open space, parking, et cetera?
That's an excellent question. I can't answer that here tonight, but I'm sure the range is going to be in the 650 square foot for a small unit in today's market on up to 1,400 feet.
And then could you retain all of the retail at 45 feet? Existing retail, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think it makes it a more cramped site than what we want to propose for the project moving forward.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that. I mean, I do understand. It's all I'm trying to do is respect the fact that as soon as you start asking those kind of questions, we're into general plan amendment questions that I thought we didn't want to handle tonight. So, but it's up to you, right? I'm willing to talk about the general plan amendment tonight.
Wouldn't this be an issue only when they came with the project? Don't we have a little more time to discuss heights? This is just what we need to send to HCD so that they accept these numbers of units.
Exactly,
So
with a feasible
I don't see them breaking
minimum-
ground
a feasible
tomorrow to
minimum
construct
height.
anything.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let me ask staff this question, is that if we wanted to raise it to 60 feet, do we have time to raise it before May 31st?
I would recommend that you, again, for the housing element sites with the expectation of retail, I would recommend that those changes happen by the time you adopt the final housing element, so that the expectation for all those sites is very clear. What that means is we're going to have a meeting or two in January and February to talk about it.
Right.
And you will have that in place.
So the answer
I
is
would
yes,
not
we still have
recommend
more time.
waiting and doing it later, because then they can come in with an all-housing site and we'll be in a very different place than anybody else wants to be.
Understood, but can we make the final decision next month?
Yes, you can. Again, you're not adopting the final housing element until May, so I would recommend you
Understood.
do it
Earlier
before
versus
that.
later.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to do tonight is establish a minimum so we can tell HCD that we've got a credible story and it's possible. But I mean, all the kinds of discussions you're asking, the questions you're asking about, will you commit to underground parking and this and that and retail and how much and heights and setbacks. I mean, all those discussions are great to have. I just like to do it consistently for all of these projects across the city rather than trying to pick and choose which need more height tonight. I'd just like to use a formula.
I just have a different opinion, but I respect what you
I
said.
understand.
Well, my concern is that we committed to housing element sites, and now we're amending the general plan to make it more feasible, right? When HCD is evaluating these, does this have an effect, the heights, upon that evaluation, upon
Yes.
HCD's evaluation?
Absolutely.
Of whether this becomes feasible?
Right. For
So do
example,
the height that works.
if you had a 99 unit density on the Hamptons and you said it could be accommodated in 45 feet, it'd be very hard for me to make
Okay,
that case.
so that doesn't pass the laugh test. Does making this 60 feet at Oaks and Marina help it pass in HCD's, in your opinion? Would it help
Right,
it pass, and would it give it a better chance of being accepted by HCD?
The higher you go, the more feasible it is. If you're asking me how low can you stay, I'm saying 45 feet.
Okay, so in your assessment, 45 feet,
I wouldn't go lower than that.
Artie, you're not answering the question. He asking you if 60 feet will be much more
Yes.
feasible.
60
Just answer
feet-
yes or no. Don't go to 45.
Okay. 60 feet would be more feasible than 45 feet.
for me, it's a moot point. I would rather keep the number lower, so, 45 or 60 is it's fine.
Okay, let's see where we
So we're
are.
going to have a discussion, next month.
I'd rather keep the total number lower.
Yeah, just
Keep it lower to
yeah,
be discussed next month.
Yeah, just discuss it next month.
Fine.
Is there anything that we need to discuss? Because I think it's getting late, and I think we
I
should
understand.
just.
So we're good with the column as it stands?
Well, I mean, I think it's for further discussion. I think that this is a Strawville as it says. It's a housing element Strawville on the
Okay.
height.
All right.
So that's my understanding that if I vote yes, that this is just a straw proposal on just the height. Am I correct?
No, it's what we we have to get to
No,
HCD.
I think what
No?
RT told me is that we still have, if we want to raise it, we can always come back next month to discuss it more further.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of moving forward and what gets submitted, I presume in December, or what?
Well, hopefully tomorrow or day after, we want to
Right.
submit it to the housing.
We will submit it, these numbers, along with some height, and the question is what that height's going to be. Which doesn't say we can't come back in January, February, or March, or frankly, even into May, and although that's sounding late, I guess. So, okay, in the first quarter, we're going to come, and we're going to go, hopefully, I think we have consensus, that we're going to come back, and we're going to discuss the general plan amendment. And at that time, we're going to set all of these, define all of these things that we've been asked to do, but we've decided to defer, right? And at that time, we're going to try to create some certainty for developers that are working on proposals to tell them, okay, here's what community benefits really looks like. This is what that means to you. That's what our program's about. And furthermore, you want to go above X height.
Okay,
and-
I think we're all on the same page.
Okay.
My question